Yo, we're live already? Cool. All right. Um so as you guys know, like I've been on Superman kick for a while now and I keep saying over and over again, I don't think James Gunn's the right guy for the job, but I kind of want to go through it just to get some thoughts out. Not to do a full-blown review, but kind of like a synopsis as much as I can. So, in um in the beginning of the movie, it's trying to set something up, but kind of completely fails at it. By the way, like if you haven't watched the movies, this is just gonna be all spoilers, so feel free to hop out and go watch the movie. But and it's on HBO Max, so you don't really have an excuse to not watch it. And you could sell the high seas on that one if you don't want to pay HBO Max, and that's on you. But okay, so the movie sets up where you are led to believe that metahumans have presented themselves 300 years ago. So back in the 1700s, late 17 or mid 1700s, right? Okay. But then nowhere throughout the movie is that implied or hinted at. There's no payoff. There's no like that establishment gives us nothing for the movie. Like it's just a bunch of words we had to read. This isn't like their little Superman Star Wars scroll gave us zero information or setup other than we Superman is 30 years old. That's the only information that's actually it's not even important. It's the only information we get that we don't get for the rest of the film. All the rest of the film, we like as soon as they say, "Oh, like, Superman lost his first fight," and then we see him land and crash. Like, yeah, in half a second, we could see that the dude lost his fight, and we don't have. It doesn't matter if this is his first one because also throughout the film, it it doesn't show where like Superman worrying about or thinking about like, man, how can I be beat? How can this happen to me? Like he's not worried about losing the fight. Now I get it that some people they want to make the excuse of like, oh, he's a little more stoic or he's worried about the people, so that doesn't phase him. Also, a stupid argument because that would worry him. That would worry him more because of the people. Like, man, there's another human or being out there or technology, the Hammer of Baravia that's out there that can fight me, aka they could just end the war right then and there. Like, there's no reason. Like, already the movie with its setup, like Baravian, whatever, the Hammer of Baravia. Why don't you just get if you have this? Like, it gets rid of the whole film. Why don't you just have the Hammer of Baravia attack that neighboring country? It already beat Superman right now, and the time it takes for him to recover, the Hammer of Baravia could have been in Baravia and just win the war, and then we don't have a film. We already start off completely stupid. It makes zero sense why they don't like. There's too many conveniences. Like they'll do something but then they won't do it. Like as the movie progresses, the like we'll point out some of the little things like the robots that are in the Fortress of Solitude. Like the tone of the movie starts off decent. I don't like the little squeaky girly yell that Superman yells when Crypto jumps on him or whatever. I don't know who made that decision. That was kind of stupid. But he could have gotten to the Fortress of Solitude and it could have been very serious because that's how it kind of starts off. Starts off a little serious, like all right, like we're getting into it. So far, the only mistake right in the beginning, the only mistake is the little crawl. In terms of to the point where we see Superman get dragged off by Crypto, the first mistake is he lost his first fight, and then we see him lost his first fight. Take away that sentence, we already know he lost a fight. And then either through dialogue or through the robots, through some exposition dump, they could have said like, I've never seen you down. Like, who was this? Like, is there another Kryptonian on Earth that we didn't know about? And then maybe the robots could look at themselves with concern, as in they know who's in the Phantom Zone. Obviously that lore hasn't been established. There was no talk of the Phantom Zone. We don't know the past 3 years of Superman, what he was actually doing. If he was just saving cats from a tree, if he was fighting superpowered humans or superpowered beings. We don't know any of that. But we do know that he lost his first fight. Okay. Then he's talking to the robot and he's like, we don't feel emotion. And then the girl robot shows emotion. It's like, I don't know what this film is wanting me to believe. Okay, he lost the fight, and then immediately it goes into comedy. And then after the comedy, we get the dog biting at his ankles. And then we get all this exposition dump. It's just exposition the entire film. Like, oh, the sun is... He needs the yellow sun to recharge. Throughout the film, I think we get like 4 more times where they mention the yellow sun. Which, that dialogue could have been cut out. And only in the part where you see Metamorpho does he tell him. Because he's telling it to a character that doesn't know. The exposition is the robots just practically looking at the screen and telling us, the audience. That's not good. Like, exposition should be towards characters, should be towards the story, where they explain it to somebody who has zero information or a remembrance, connecting it to the current feeling they have. One of the best examples is Lord of the Rings. Just Ian McKellen. There is a lot more exposition, but Ian McKellen as Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White, solid exposition. Like, it makes sense. He is giving courage to people. He's also setting things up that the audience will understand, but mainly for the character to understand. So that the character understands the gravity of the situation, what they got to do, and him to create his own ideas and like, this is what we got to do. And to see what his reaction is after I tell him this information. So, okay. We then get to the dog biting him, right? It's, now the Fortress of Solitude, the door looks cool, has the Superman symbol on it. You guys know my thoughts on the super suit. It's retarded. But it's got the symbol, doors opening up, awesome. Fortress of Solitude, reminiscent of the Christopher Reeve. Personally, my favorite Fortress of Solitude is actually from the animated series, where like you could actually see the technology from the Kryptonians. But anyways, we got the Fortress of Solitude, and now I have the film here. I like skip every now and then, just to kind of like, some of the camera work in the beginning, not bad, it's fine, but it's so fast paced. Like, they charge him, then they say something like, you're only 80% recharged. They don't explain what that means at all. Not that we need an explanation, but I never understand when they say 80% recharge. What does that mean? Like, your muscles weak, or like you're not able to fly? Like, what is happening here? I don't understand what we're supposed to understand by that. It's like, okay, what you're portraying is that Superman might be a little stupid, and then the rest of the film, it does show him being really stupid. So he fought the Hammer of Bravia at 100%, whatever that's supposed to mean, and lost. So now he's going back to finish the job, I guess, and to lose again because he's weaker than he was before. It's a really stupid move. But okay. The and then we get the engineer, who apparently has Oscar level acting, which like never seen such a great actress. It's pretty incredible. Um, man, like she beginning it's okay. Like she shows up. I found the alien's lair or whatever she says, right? And then she's like, I could dig through it. It's like okay, like we, as far as we know, up to this point, we don't know that Lex created her. Which the things that Lex does here makes him a god. He created an entire universe. He's trying to humiliate Superman, which he already did. At this point, he already did humiliate Superman. He humiliates him like around 4 to 5 times in this film. But like he again, he wants to kill Superman. He didn't need an excuse from the government. He could have gone to his lair, killed him because he found it. Superman didn't even know until it was televised. So the engineer says that she could dig through. And then Lex delivers a line like, your pride won't hurt us today, or something like that. Or whatever he actually says. Again, paraphrasing this whole thing. Okay, which leads us to believe that either we're going to know a little bit something about her backstory and her motivation, why she hates Superman, why she wants to kill Superman, why she's working for Lex, because again, just showing that they could like that she's talking to him. Obviously, she works for him. So she finds the location, talks to Lex. All right, fast forward a little bit. Boom, Lex shows up to the Fortress of Solitude with his goons. As soon as he opens up, he we don't know until towards the end of the movie why the Fortress of Solitude opened up for Lex. It was a strand of his hair slash Ultraman got his DNA, blah 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 blah, which obviously the robots recognize and start destroying it. Lex Luthor he walks as if he is impervious to pain and human reaction, not emotion, reaction. Like everything is working out in his favor. He doesn't even flinch because like this is supposed to be a genius, and blame the director, because like obviously it was all green screen. It's not blades flying everywhere, but everything was so lucky that it didn't hit him. Like just the physics alone makes it so that it's going to be, you should be wary when a blade comes through you, even if you can control the blade like a boomerang. Let's say you have the Batman Batarang and it's supposed to split something in half. You can't control that object that it's going to split in half and where it's going to land. You might be able to direct it a little bit, but there is fragments, the shrapnel from something, like it could blow up, could cut your face, cut your eye. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. He just walks as if, like, again, he's a god. So, okay. He goes forward. And then we get the best line in the film, where the engineer says, I know, I gave up my humanity just to kill Superman. Who you telling, man? Obviously, it's for us, the audience. It took me completely out of the movie. I'm like, that was the one of some of the worst writing I've ever freaking seen. Like, everybody there knows. They know why you're not doing this. Why you're not doing this and why you are doing this. So why you telling it to Lex again? Like, he would have looked over at her and been like, are you freaking retarded? What the hell are you saying? Like, why do I need this information from you? Like, you think I'm stupid? I've been, like, I'm the one that freaking created you. What are you talking about? Man. And I gotta say, the flight scenes, they look pretty terrible. I like it was obvious that the hair was CGI, and there's a scene where like if you pause it on HBO Max, where the Hammer of Bravia is holding Superman's neck, just um, flying across the sky. You could tell, like that the background is CGI. You could tell that it's like separate, you know, like the Apple filter where you just press the button on the FaceTime and it like just takes away everything around you and just shows the person, just like really highlights the person. It's pretty terrible. And again, the fight scene itself is an issue. It's a big issue. Like 1A, 2B, what the freak? Like that's dumb because think about how Superman is going to how he's going to fight. He's fighting somebody that obviously has his strength, his speed, his at least those two, right? So he's gonna realize, okay, this guy could take a punch because he's effing me up. So I have to up my strength and my speed. Because every fight he goes into, he holds back to not kill somebody. Right? He's about that's what he's about. He's not gonna kill anybody. He wants to preserve life. He's not a killer. Okay? Simple Superman lore, everybody knows this. So he does that. But as soon as he sees an enemy that he realizes could take a little bit more, he has to amp it up, increase his strength through the fight. He's faster than a speeding bullet. If the guy, like Superman, is going to become faster and faster as you fight him, because he needs to be faster than you to be able to beat you. So the commands that Lex, like the amount of time it takes for Lex to say something, and then for his idiot freaking computer douchebags type it in, and then the connection to hit Ultraman, like you're talking about around 2 to 5 seconds of reaction time, which is a lot of time in a fight. Like if it takes you 5 seconds to react to a punch being thrown at you, even 3 seconds, you're going down. You're gonna get screwed. You're dead. Okay, they're gonna hit you exactly where they want to hit you, and it's not a fight, it's a massacre. So not only does it make no sense, like he threw in, you could tell that he threw in these rando characters to like show how much influence Lex Luthor has, but we never understand why. Like, why do all these people hate Superman? Like, we don't get anything like, Superman, like this is his first screw up, and then like there was another situation, but we don't get where like a whole building was destroyed and then all these people are connected to some people they lost through a fight that Superman had. At least Batman versus Superman, again, I hate the Snyderverse. At least Batman versus Superman, it showed why Bruce was freaking concerned about Superman. Like just a small grudge match against somebody at his equal, they were able to decimate a city, and he wasn't even convinced that was Superman's full power. At least decimate some buildings, almost decimate a city. Like if it went like an hour longer, like the city could have been destroyed. Okay, and then you see the guy in the wheelchair, he's affected, blah blah blah. But in this movie, we don't get any of that. Like all these guys just randomly hate Superman, including the engineer. And don't give me that crap like that set up for the second movie where there's like a lot of people that hate Superman. No, we're talking about this movie. It doesn't give us anything. This isn't a TV show. Okay, a movie has to hold its own in isolation. It cannot bank off of previous movies. That became the issue of the MCU. Where like, if you saw the beginning of the MCU all the way to Infinity War, most or all the films, I would say most, I have to watch them again, but if you watch the previous film, it was more of like an added bonus that you had. You were a fan, you were like, man, maybe the Tesseract's going to show up in here, maybe they're going to use it, blah, blah, blah. But it's you can watch almost each film in its isolation because there's a beginning, middle, and end. Like, I didn't have to watch the beginning of Captain America to understand, to like the first movie, to understand Winter Soldier and that he's also from World War II. And like during that time, he's from the 1940s. Okay, 1930s, 1940s. I didn't have to watch the first Captain America movie to enjoy the second Captain America movie. So this movie, not only does it feel like it's the third or fourth or fifth iteration of a Superman movie slash like team up movie, like a Civil War movie, but it doesn't even like immerse you in it. Like, there's so many things that takes you out of the experience. So these guys, right? They are they're putting in the codes first, and again, Lex Luthor could have made some, like, with all his genius, he could have made some sort of neural link in his brain to be able to control, because in this movie we get him making whole other universes, pocket dimensions, pocket universe. Then we get he does cloning. He could create super soldiers. What else does he get? Like all this stuff, and he not only just regular cloning Superman. Like, this is going to be really difficult for other movies to not be able to explain why they didn't use cloning, why they didn't create pocket universes. Like, and also the US government had no interest in, like, wait, you're creating clones, and let's say they don't know, but you engineered a whole other human. Like, the military would be very much intrigued by this. They would give him a contract immediately. Like, forget about Superman, but you have the technology to create superhumans that could protect us from all metahumans we're ever going to be concerned about. Because the engineer's powers are pretty freaking incredible. No matter how you like, oh, Superman's stronger or whatever, no, like, she gives him a freaking tough time. Oh shoot, my bad. Okay. So there's no concern in the military. They're giving him these commands, and like brainwaves, speed of light, could control Ultraman, the Hammer of Bravia, whatever. Okay. Again, positive things about the film. It's the look of it. I would say this film is more palatable than the Man of Steel. Just to make comparison. Like, when you're talking about a Superman movie, you have to compare to Christopher Reeve. You have to compare Man of Steel. You got to compare it to Brandon Routh's Superman Returns, because they all pale in comparison to Christopher Reeve. But also, they have a massive issue in trying to... I think Man of Steel is the only one that didn't do it. They try to keep it all original. Every iteration of Superman has tried to pay homage to the Man of Steel, or to Christopher Reeve's Superman. But this movie, like, the coloring is nice. Like, you feel like this is an actual world. Like, Man of Steel was so diluted. It looked like freaking like the UK, but in the worst of times. Like, when it's all dark and gloomy, and there's no, like, when you think of Man of Steel, I can't remember a smile in that movie. Like, when you see Jonathan and Martha Kent, they're kind of pissed at him. They're kind of like, he's kind of being a crappy teenager, you know. But yeah. So, again, they say something like Lex has been studying Superman for years. Okay, the only way to study Superman is by seeing the things he did. Tracking his flight patterns, that kind of stuff. But you won't know everything about Superman, like, just by studying him from that perspective. You won't know all his powers. And again, Christopher Reeve Superman did that well, where Lois Lane interviewed him. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect interview in the Christopher Reeve Superman because Lois Lane asked questions that were kind of like, how did you know that? Ask that question. I think it was just one or two, and then also Christopher Reeve Superman. He gave away a weakness. He can't see through lead. All right. But one thing to protect his identity during the interview, he didn't say how old he was, which at least here we know that he is 30 years old because of the information that was given to us. One major fault, they took away one of the best characters in this film, which was Jonathan Kent. We should have got way more screen time because the scene that everybody talks about, that was a payoff scene to that should have been that felt like a payoff scene to other emotional buildup that we didn't get. What bothered me a lot was that Clark was unfazed by his parents' call. Like it seemed like they were bothering him. That I don't like. Like it seemed like he didn't care about them at all. And the reason he's called Smallville, they return as the small town guy Smallville, is because that's the way he is, the way he thinks. He just cares about the American dream and not the American dream as becoming rich, but the American dream of like living a good life, being a good person, helping your neighbor, working to support your family. So, and that family is the most important thing. That's what he believes. So if his parents call, he's usually like every iteration of Superman that we got before. When his parents call, he's like excited. He'll drop everything, even work, can be like, "Is everything okay?" He's either worried about there's okay or just like actually is happy to talk to him, unless he is occupied with something that he doesn't want to share with them. Like he doesn't want his parents to know that Lois is there and that there's a girl that he's interested in, at least not yet. Like he doesn't want them to think he has a girlfriend, but he does want to talk to them about Lois. Whatever. So, like, we just get like this little freaking like a TikTok reel of these guys just explaining. Oh, he studied Superman for the last whatever 3 years or something, and then he's developed over 2,500 fight moves for any situation. I'm like, okay, you're telling that to me. All these people that are asking questions, either they were just hired, which we don't get, but it's like you're in his head. It's like you know what he's gonna do next. Dude, shut up. Like, we don't need all this. We realize that he's fighting, and he's fighting well. We don't need any more of like this exposition dump. It's just a waste of film. Like, if you cut down like some of this crappy dialogue, we can move on, and it probably had a good 40 minutes more of a movie that actually meant something. Okay, all these guys are talking, and then it's nice to see the scene where like one person likes him. We don't know how he's has the, like, you can see on the guy's screen where he has the video, like you could see like up close and personal on the video footage of Superman and the people on the ground, but we don't understand that yet. I think if I can't remember correctly, it was bugs, like little robots that look like bugs or something like that. I don't know, but yeah. Give me a second. Let me drink this. And just some juice. Okay. And then we find out that the engineer is Hispanic. Also, no reason for her to include Spanish words until, like, again, whether it adds or subtracts to the character, I don't know, because we don't get anything. So it doesn't add to her character, doesn't take away from her character. It's just like, if you're going to explain to me or show me that what's it called? This character speaks Spanish or something, like, maybe show Superman in Mexico, Guatemala, Spain, wherever it is, and where she was, and why she hates Superman. You know, and maybe connect it why Lex was also involved and how he found her. You know, maybe he orchestrated the whole thing. And then it'll add depth to Lex and a little background to the engineer. But whatever. Again, the hero of the story is the dude that helped Superman up when he crashed down. The Hammer Bravius coming down. He's weak. And then people are like, oh, you shouldn't have been involved in Jaranpur. Again, big problem. No military presence at all. No police getting involved in Jaranpur. And then why would you trust Lex to be like, oh, we have a whole team to stop Superman, but he doesn't send that team out to stop the Hammer of Bravia and Superman from destroying a city in the United States? Like, that's a huge oversight. Because then that would set up, like, hey, look, we've already proven that we can protect you guys. And the military wouldn't be able to fight against Superman. The police wouldn't be able to fight against Superman. Like, he was having this grudge match, and there was damage. There was people hurt. And we have to, and like, if he wants to have this conflict with Jaranpur, just have the Hammer of Bravia, even if Jaranpur is the enemy of the United States, have the Hammer of Bravia infiltrate the country, and then him and Superman fight it out there, and they stop him while simultaneously destroying that country, so then Lex can take over that country. Why didn't that happen? Also, why aren't the military talking to Lex? Like, Lex should have sent in his little, what's the, Raptors or something, to be able to, like, no, you guys stop. You guys are hurting people. And then it could show, like, Lex manipulating the people that, hey, I care about the American people. I care about what happens to everybody that's involved. I care about, you know, like, it could set up other storylines going into his presidency, whatever you plan to do with Lex. It would be a nice setup. Like we as the audience see that he's manipulative, but the people, the characters, don't see that. They just see that he's actually helping, and that Superman is screwing things up, and he doesn't care about collateral damage. He doesn't care about safety. And he is doing things claiming, he never claims to be American, because then that would create a whole other issue, unfortunately. Like here's the thing. There's so many issues in this movie that would have been resolved, talked about when Superman presented himself 3 years ago. Okay? Let's say, like, I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm the president of the United States and Superman comes in. I'm going to be a little concerned. I'm like, oh man, there's this great guy flying around, very powerful, but I need to know whose side he's on. Where do you come from? He's an alien? Okay. Superman, what are you doing here? And as we know, Superman would take the meeting with the President of the United States. I want to thank you, but I also want to have an interview with you. Maybe he would even invite Lois Lane. Maybe that's the introduction to Lois Lane. Lois, you're a great reporter. I want you to interview Superman along with me, because I need to know what I'm going to ask him some things, and we're going to cut that part out. You know, or he's just going to interview him, and then Lois can interview, or just take away Lois altogether, and just the President of the United States is like, I want to talk to you. 1-to-1. Okay, you're an alien. He's going to establish that. Okay, I have to go in front of the United Nations and we have to rally together, see what's going on. Because if aliens are coming in here and they're as strong as you, and even if he says, I'm the only one of my kind, okay, well, I don't know that. You're telling me. I don't know you, man. So we need to create some sort of defense against aliens. And you coming in here disrupts things. So we need to figure out how to identify you. You know, what's how to keep track of you. Like, what country do you represent? Like, I don't represent any country. Okay. Well, you speak English. So I'm guessing you're from the US or another English speaking country. That's an issue, you know? And if he's like, look, I'm going to do what's right for the world. I'm going to stop evil. And then there could be an interesting conversation like, what is evil to you, man? But things would be established to the point where the president would be like, if you're going to be any time in this country, you have to play by our rules. If you're going to be here, you're going to go through the immigration laws. You're going to go through all these laws. Like, I can't have you flying around here. Like, you're flying, like, him flying around disrupts many things. Like, yo, you go through supersonic speed. You fly under 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet is something where, like planes are not allowed to fly under. They have to be 1,000 feet or higher. They can't fly under that. They can't be in the buildings. Okay? So you're going to fly above 1,000 feet at all times if you're going to fly. And every time you land, you're not going to do anything or, like, destroy property. But, like, it'll get to the point where, like, Superman has to choose where he's from. And the president is probably going to be like, all right, you're going to be a U.S. citizen. Here's a social security number. This way I know that you're a citizen and keep track of you. And, like, maybe there's information that he can't give. Like, I'm not going to give you my age. I'm not going to give you that stuff. I'm an alien. Or he's a resident, but he loves the United States. Blah, 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 blah. It could be a whole lot of stuff. Okay? Obviously, he would be investigated. They would try to track his flight patterns. And then Superman might... Like, you can establish so many things where Batman comes into play and he's like, hey, man, I know you're Clark Kent. You know, like in the animated series, Batman discovers that Superman has X-ray vision through their first encounter, or that it's actually useful. Because he might have already known before through other interviews, through statements that Superman has made, or through his actions while it's being filmed or televised through a camera or a news station, right? So, but he was surprised that he used his power against Batman. Hey, you peeked. And then he finds out he's Bruce Wayne. Then Batman tracks Superman with a little device to Clark's apartment. Okay. If we're going to go through this universe and Batman's involved, I'm guessing they're aware of each other. The caped freaking Gotham and the cowboy in Metropolis. Okay? Or this Boy Scout. So, if they're aware of each other, Batman, let's say they become friends, it would be an interesting way to, like, let Superman know, like, hey, you have to hide, like, the energy you get off, the heat you give off. When you go back home to your parents, you have to fly in this sort of pattern because they're tracking you. They're pointing satellites towards Metropolis specifically, and they're trying to figure out. And even you can even make it so the U.S. government throws like fake fights, enemies towards Superman, so that they could see where Superman's coming from, see where he's landing, see where he's going, and so they could figure out his identity. And then he has to keep track of that to the point where, like, he has to go to the president and be like, you got to stop this. This is putting people I love in danger. And you see my face. This is my face, and this is it. Like, I'm not planning anything against anybody. I just want to do what's right. You know? Then I wouldn't put it in the line like, if I wanted to hurt you, I would have done it already, which is a stupid line. and not something that Superman would say. But you could be like, hey, look, I understand that somebody like me could hurt innocent people at any time, but that's not me. Okay? Like, I have this power and I choose to do what's right. And there's nothing that will stop me from doing the right thing, from saving people from danger and from those who want to do harm. That's it. Boom. Simple. He um he just keeps like losing. Like the Hammer of Bravia leaves, he's dropped, and then we get some chick whore in a selfie that always has her phone for that. Literally no reason to have around. Zero reason to be in this movie. And then we get the Hammer of Bravia landing, I guess, in Jaranpur, going through the tent, which also why you have this literal portal to another universe covered only by a tent. It's pretty like that's some pretty crappy security, man. But anyways, they could transfer through. I'm guessing the Hammer of Baravia went back to Jaranpur so that they could track his flight pattern, because maybe the U.S. government is actually tracking somebody. But again, they're nowhere to be seen, man. The mental gymnastics you have to jump through to make this film make sense is insane and impossible. It doesn't make sense. You could like it all you want, have fun, enjoy it. That's on you. But do not tell me this is a good movie, because it's not. It's terrible. Okay. So the people are cheering, whatever. You get to see Ultraman's face, or not face, his mask, and that's kind of it. And then you get to see Luthor Corp, which and the engineer flying back, which seemed pretty fast, but I don't know how much time it took to get to the Antarctic and to the Fortress of Solitude. I have no idea. Then later you see Clark just mucking about, trying to get to the Daily Planet, acting like a fool, which you kind of want to be like, okay, there's a little bit of Christopher Reeve vibe, more of like the clunky dude, but not the nerdy guy, right? I don't know why he has the douchebag F-boy haircut. It's really, really dumb. Again, not for the race swapping, but I like the actor that's Perry White. I'll live with it. Oh man, just another little piece of sand on top of another straw that's gonna break the camel's back, Anyways, then there's Steve. For some reason, is just bullying Clark, like just, I don't know, man. Like, I guess he's mad at him because he's not into sports or something. Like, if anything, I think they made Martha Kent kind of look like a dumb lady. I still think she's one of the better parts of the film. And Pa looks like you could tell that he cares. Like, the acting is pretty solid in the scene. Like, you could tell that he cares, but he's being like that tough dad. Like, I'm not talking or whatever. Like, I'm here. But this is a perfect moment for Clark to actually want to talk to his parents, because some retard is bullying him for no freaking reason, just being mean to him. Like, why are we doing this? Like, It doesn't even it'd be one thing to show that he's a little bit bothered, like, hey, look, I'm talking to my parents, man. Like, can you like, can we do this high school thing later? Is that okay? Like, feel free to make fun of me, but not while I'm on the phone, you know? Or maybe if you don't want him to stand up in front of him, whatever. Again, ma, hey, like she's calling to congratulate him because she's proud of him, like that he's on the front page. You know what I mean? Like, he should be ecstatic. Like, there's a theme in this movie where I wouldn't say a theme. He chooses his parents that didn't raise him, that he has no other video than a 5 to 30-second recording of a speech playing over and over again. Like, I don't know if it's portraying like, oh, he identifies more with them, which takes away from Superman its entirety. Never before in comics history has Superman felt more connected to his Kryptonian parents than his parents on Earth. Like, he's always felt connected more because they raised him. The decades that they raised him, and he, like, it's showing that, like, he doesn't care as much about them than his Kryptonian parents. Because his Kryptonian parents, like, they're the soothing thing. And then if it was ever gonna point to, like, Clark getting a little bit emotional, which there's way too emotion in this film for Clark. It's right here in this scene where it's like, yo, these are my parents. Don't joke like that, please. Like, it could be that little stop, because he's like saying, like, would you, like, ask Mom how's roadkill or whatever. And then he could stop them and be like, whoa, hey, these are my parents. We're not friends, man. As you clearly don't want to be friends. And so it's like, I don't know, man. It's really, really dumb. And then we get a nice little scene of Kat. And Kat gets Superman to smile. And so does Jimmy. Like, you couldn't smile for your parents, man? They're not seeing it, but, like, where's the Clark in all this? Where's the guy who loves his parents? Where's Smallville? Like, he's celebrating as she's, like, trying to talk to him. Like, just want to say congrats. Tell you we're thinking about you. And then his dad says, don't be a stranger. Gosh. And then we get the first glimpse of Lois Lane. And I have a problem with the... Gosh. I have a problem with like this entire scene. Okay. Cool. Jimmy, for some reason, like, women are attracted to Jimmy. They're looking at him. He like kind of brushes off. He kind of doesn't know that he has, like, all this charm, right? But something that's somewhat good dialogue is Jimmy and Lois talking about, like, I don't think Superman thought the whole Baravia thing through. The ramifications for his actions involving in politics, because it's a big deal involving in politics when most of the world assumes that you represent the United States, even though you claim you don't. You only speak English, bro. Like, you're favoring something. Like, you only speaking that language favors something. It's almost like you're the card to say, like, this is where I was raised. And you don't have an Australian accent. You don't have a New Zealand accent, a Samoan accent. It's very much American. And, yeah, again, so as much as he wants or doesn't want, he's American. Okay. So Clark can't help himself but to intervene in the conversation. Lois kind of gives him a look and is like, yo, what do you want to say? I'm interested to hear. And insinuates that she knows that Clark is Superman for the audience. And we could tell that he's most likely told him. But here's where something that's intrinsically not Superman happens. He claims to have interviewed Superman on many occasions, and he keeps bumping into him. Clark would never do that. Not only to protect his identity, but he wouldn't use Superman to progress his career. He would try to separate himself as much as he can from Superman. And I have a massive issue with that because it creates way more problems than solutions. Like I've heard the argument, oh, he's trying to clear things up. He's trying to, make sure that people know what Superman is about. Like he can't give interviews to everybody. But again, he's not only is he being sloppy with it, but he doesn't oh yeah, I ran into him. I was over here. Like, okay. How are you always there during his fights? How are you always there when you're in the perfect spot every time Superman comes in and you have something you need to say that Superman counters the argument that you and this other dude is having. That's pretty damn convenient. And again, he's very emotional because he interrupts only when he hears and I'm guessing for comedic effect, only when he hears Jimmy talking about he was kicking Superman's butt. The leader of Bravia is I don't know, is having his little rant, and then that's how Clark talks about his how he didn't sound Bravian accent or whatever, dude. It's yeah. Okay, we get a shot of the Pentagon. Finally, the military is involved. And I'm from here. I'm just gonna go off the cuff, but as we could tell in this movie, this is all what everything I talked about is probably the first 20 minutes of the movie, and we already got all these problems, all of them. They're to me, best parts about the movie: Metamorpho, with the little screen time we had about him, and even with him, a lot of stupid things. His powers are pretty amazing, and there's a lot of implications that we could go through with somebody with that kind of power, and I don't know. There was the prison is dumb. There's how I want to know how time works in this dimension as well. Is it anybody in this dimension feels like only a few seconds have passed? But I'm guessing it's the same amount of time as the outside world because the monkeys are using the internet, which is really dumb. It was again, this is another example of a pissing contest. Just like Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi, but this time it's aimed at fans. James Gunn is aiming at the Snyder Cut fans and what he thinks about them. If you pay attention to that scene, and you could say what you want, but he's obviously aiming towards some people. If you're just a keyboard warrior, you're a monkey, you're an idiot if you complain about this Superman on the internet. That's how stupid you are. Because it's all so dumb. Why not? You created all this stuff. You couldn't create an AI that every time somebody mentions Superman, it sends out 2 tweets negative about Superman. Just a 1-to-2 ratio. You couldn't create that. The dude who created a whole nother universe and cloning technology and the engineer, you had to go capture monkeys and then again mind control them Oh, and you also have mind control. Like, stupid scene. Like the reason why I wanted to know about the timing is like, okay, those prisons, there's no bathrooms, there's no yard time, there's no food. So how are these people surviving inside these prisons? That's just square. Like, you might think it's stupid, but like when you show something, I would like to know how it works. You don't have to explain to me how it works, but if I saw a prison in a regular movie, Shawshank Redemption, I understand that they have yard time and they have chow time. There's a toilet, there's beds. Okay. No need for an explanation. It is set up. You don't get any of that. The baby would have died from starvation. A lot of prisoners would have died from starvation or had some sort of skin disease towards leprosy while pooping in there. Like, what's going on here, man? Ain't nobody think this through? They just thought it was cool to make a glass box. And then, and in that scene, Metamorpho makes a son. Okay, you couldn't have hidden that a little bit, and that should have been the only time we as an audience were told, should have been told that Superman needs the sun to recharge. Oh, freaking A. Because not only to save time, but we didn't need all that explanation in the beginning of the movie, in the middle of the movie, and then towards that. Okay? And then at the end, when we see Supergirl, he could even explain like to him like, wherever there's a yellow, I draw my powers from the yellow sun. Okay, that means if there is no yellow sun, you are a regular person. The audience would understand that. And so there's many implications of the stupidity in this film towards the end of like how dumb it makes. The last scene of the movie makes the movie. It's so integral to the lore and the questions we're going to have that make this movie so much worse. And I guess we could talk about the last scene. So Supergirl, right? She comes in and Superman tells the audience, and the damn robot who should have already known, it's a Kryptonian robot, that Supergirl goes off to red suns and to like universes or planets or galaxies, whatever, with red suns, so that she could get drunk there. Okay. First of all, it's not showing like a unruly teenager who needs to get drunk. You're portraying that like either she's trying to forget something because something is way too, which I'm guessing if they're gonna go that route, it's because of how she was raised, that she needs to dominate and have harems like Superman, or be part of a harem and rule over people. Because if they go through all of Supergirl's lore, is that she's already been raised in Krypton up to at least 16. And there's some lore where she was sent just like Clark was sent to Earth so that she could help take care of Clark. But I don't think they're gonna go for that lore. And then her spaceship, because like the spaceship is supposed to preserve you, like a Cairo chamber. Is that what it's called? The ones in sci-fi shows and games where like they freeze you and you don't age, like Halo. The cryopods. And so hers was taken off course until it was powered back up and then taken to Earth and then landed there when Clark was 30. But she was supposed to be she's supposed to be older than him. Or the one where he finds her in some sort of Kryptonian prison on a meteor. You know, there's multiple iterations of like how Supergirl came to be in this universe. But okay, my guess is that she's trying to forget because she doesn't want to enslave people. All right. Fine. But we get the exposition dump, and she acts like a total B, dude. She is so freaking awful that it doesn't make me want to watch a movie with her. Like, why would I subject myself to watching a movie with this chick? And she's a great actress. I liked her on House of the Dragon. Um, I think she does well, but she just, the way they portrayed her made me want to not see this character ever again. Like, they did a little bit of joke where the dog is like, oh, that's a toxic relationship. She just like does whatever with the dog. It's her dog. Okay, that's new lore. And then she calls Clark a bit. Again, I don't think this is a movie that you could take the family to see. There's multiple middle fingers, and it's not about like somebody being conservative or a prude. It's like, this is a Superman movie. This is the Boy Scout hero, one of the most important heroes. He's on another level of not only ideology, but another level of morality that us lowly humans are not part of, or are somewhat part of. But they don't act like the rest of the world. And this movie is supposed to be like, Superman is very much tailored to children. The colors and everything. I'm not saying it can't be PG-13. It can, with action, with not gore, but like a little bit of violence, all that stuff. But cussing isn't part of it. Highly sexual things are not part of it. Like when him and Lois are in the kitchen, he grabs Lois. That was a long time. Like, that was a good amount of time. I'm like, oh, whoa. And then like Kat should be like the most sexual we get, where she's talking, and like even Christopher Reeve Superman, it was subtle, it was nice. It was like when she's interviewing Superman, she's like, so I assume that, and then she looks at him up and down, all the functions are human, and then he's like, what? Like, oh, you eat, sleep, and then she's like, yes, when I'm tired and when I'm hungry. But she was trying to, she was trying to get up in there. You feel me? And yeah, like again, and Lois is supposed to be a really, really strong character. She's not supposed to be weak, and in this movie, I felt that she was weak. She's supposed to be vulnerable at times, but she's supposed to maintain like her strength, and they didn't do that here. Like they try to do all these extra things. And I'm trying to only talk about the Superman stuff. There's the Guy Gardner, the Mr. Terrific, and the Garbage Hawk Girl. Like, oh my gosh, dude. Like, what a fumble. Give me a second. Okay. Bringing me back. All right. So they kind of give the engineer, like, her powers are kind of an issue. Like, they're a big issue, actually. He infused her body with microscopic nanites, and she could form whatever shape or into anything. Actually, she could form into anything she can imagine. She could be a supercomputer. She could be a model. She is a mix of Mystique, Green Lantern, and Cyborg. This is an extremely overpowered character. This character was only introduced in the comics in 1999. And I don't claim to know much about this character. What I know is that, let's see, or was it 2000? All I know is that she had a mentor who was the original engineer. And in the comic, and I think she only showed up in like one issue, or she was only like a part of one comic series, and then nobody did anything with that again. I might be wrong. I never got into her backstory. Oh no, I think she did like a team up. Did like a team up thing. Like she was another other like team up comics. I can't remember because I didn't like. I'm a comic book fan, but I'm not like. I'm like a Superman fan, a Batman fan, Daredevil. Like I'll read those comics, but if like the side characters or villain comics, I really have to be drawn to it so I can dive in. But from what I remember, I think it was she had a mentor, and then he created his life's work were these nanites, or I think they were called something else. And then he passed away, and I don't remember how. And she took it, and she was a scientist, and she took it upon herself. So he left the work behind, and she found it, and she kind of created in her head that his life's work was meant for her. Okay, and that's how she became the engineer and got the powers. Okay. So, like, it says his raptors is what makes the planet watch, and they are unstoppable. And the infomercial that he portrays is kind of cheesy, but it's whatever, you know. And again, this is the U.S. military they're talking about. Like, Lex is not so concerned in this movie about being famous in a way. Like there's parts where like it seems like he really wants the recognition, and then there's parts where like he doesn't want anybody knowing what he's up to and all that stuff. But the Department of Defense, they make it seem like they're not interested in him at all. Like, why do you hate Superman so much? What they don't shift the conversation. Like, look, this guy's kind of crazy, but let's try to get like this technology in our department. Like, we would be unstoppable if we had an army of engineers. Because claiming that Lex did it and he infused it means that he could do it again and again and again. And also it makes zero sense why he didn't do it to multiple people. And also, why is she listening to Lex? You know what I mean? Does he have a kill switch? We understand later why Ultraman's listening to Lex. He's practically just a corpse with superpowers, and he has the brain of I don't know, like a sloth, you know, but without any self-preservation. Like it's just literally like a robot practically, which probably would have been a better situation. Like, they should have not have done cloning so soon, man. It should have. It could have been a Justice League level threat where he started cloning, not like an army of supers. Okay, and then it should have been like the 6th Justice League movie. I've always felt that you could do way more with Justice League than Avengers, than the Defenders, than any other Marvel comic and any other DC team up comic. And I don't consider the Bat family a team up. Like, that's just Batman. So, okay. The Department of Defense would have totally stopped everybody and been like, okay, Lex. Well, like, again, with the engineer, like, he's got to have some sort of kill switch in her brain. Like a measure in case she retaliates. Like, hey, look, I'm the one that did this to you, so that, what do you think I can't take this away? You can't kill me because I've instilled in you a defense system that will not allow you to attack me. Like my DNA is also in you. You can't hurt yourself, nor can you hurt me. So then she's like all like trapped forever. Like, that's how I programmed you. That's how I programmed these nanites. It would have shown how cunning he is, how maniacal he is, and how also careful he is. Which in this film he's not careful at all. Just having even the picture It's really, really stupid. It is like levels beyond idiocy. Like this film, I've heard people say they prefer this film over the Man of Steel. I could, like, again, I think it's more palatable. I wouldn't say I prefer over the Man of Steel. Man of Steel was more like simple stupid. It's like these mistakes could have been fixed easily. This was a dumb decision. This movie is like, we've created all these complex situations in the dumbest way and made them look really stupid, but this is going to affect the entire universe. Just having Lex, a character like this. The reason it's more palatable and people might enjoy it more than the Man of Steel or Superman Returns is because it's like a well-edited algorithmic YouTube video that people study, like Mr. Beast, where like they do the timestamps, they cut it so that it grabs your attention. Every 10 seconds it cuts to a scene so that like psychologically you're drawn to it. As humans, we are drawn to nuance. We're psychologically programmed to see and recognize the newest thing. So there was a very big switch, and I would say more in the fitness side of YouTube, like around 8-9 years ago, where the fitness YouTubers seemed they started blending in. They started seeing like the same thing, where it was like they had the title, like it's chest workout, but then it's like, this is the girl I F, this is my car, this is me putting gas in my car, this is the grocery shopping, this is this is boom, 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 boom. And there was all these cuts. It's like 10 seconds. There was a speech. They were walking. They were doing this. And then it just cuts to the next scene. Doom, 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 doom. But what happened? There was higher retention on YouTube. There was higher retention on people's videos. Drew people in. People, especially, I think fitness YouTubers are the ones that grow the highest and the fastest. Because if you got a good body and you're on social media and you have an above average personality that you could really portray, or that you just have this charisma. Like Sam Sulek doesn't have a bubbly, ecstatic personality, but he grew like crazy, super quick. But then you get somebody like Matt Ogus, and I'm talking, probably a lot of you guys are not fitness dudes, but Matt Ogus, he was a very like systematic approach to how he's going to compete, how he does things, and it was very simple, it was very brutal, and he had more of a slower growth, but he was like one of the first ones to be on YouTube. He was a fitness model before. And then you get like Jeff Nippard, the scientific bodybuilder, and then Christian Guzman, blah, blah, blah. You got these guys, and some of them grew real quick, some of them grew very stagnant, and then everybody at the same time almost kept growing like this, where they all started doing collabs with each other because they figured out the formula. And it was a psychological formula. And that's how this movie is played. It is cuts. It is, here's the situation. We're only going to last at the max 3 minutes on this scene. But there's going to be cuts in between this scene where it's like face. And then next situation. What's going on with Superman? What's going on with Lex? What's going on with Superman? And it's very jumpy. So that's why you enjoy it more. But when you step back and realize what they're doing, realize how it's been put together, you realize that they knew that they had garbage, but they needed you to stay on board. They needed to throw a lot at you so you can't think, and that you just enjoy the pretty colors. That's literally how this movie was formed. It's I'm not saying like that, like their intention was. I'm saying that might have been their intention, which is really scummy, but it might have, and they thought they had a masterpiece. That's what I'm guessing. They thought they had a perfect film because they're full of morons. They're all retarded. Again, Warner Brothers, probably in terms of production companies, one of the dumbest companies to ever exist, at least after 2005. They just got, way in over their heads, and they thought everybody was a creative that was a part of the company. And it was all just a bunch of. They were the first ones to act like how Disney's acting now. They didn't do as much woke stuff, but they they took directors and then they wanted to put their own ideas in and their own thoughts and mess with everything. And then they wanted to kill things quick, and instead of like letting it sit for a little bit, they wanted to put things out. They were walking over dollar bills to grab pennies. That's Warner Brothers in a nutshell. And again, the current CEO of Warner Brothers is selling it because he acts the same way. But the film, it's like again, like most of the stuff I explained has only happened, I think, in the first 20 minutes. Like Hammer Bravia, him, like Lex explaining the engineer, the parents, the robots, and obviously I've jumped ahead, but most of everything I explained was all from the first 20 minutes. And we get a lot, and then we get nothing later. Like the garage door. Welcome to nothing. Gosh, the garage door, they do this whole thing, and then for laughs, which was not funny at all, was the garage door going slowly. And like, really? Again, this movie it thought it took itself seriously and put in the worst type of jokes. The only joke that actually got a chuckle out of me was an in-universe joke, which makes sense. It's a payoff joke where Guy Gardner really likes the name Justice Gang, and then Metamorpho, he says like, no, you're too ugly to be part of our team, and then he's like, oh, you don't like him part of the Justice Gang? He's like, Justice Gang, that name is so cool, and then he's like, you're in, and like his acting, like I thought it was pretty funny. I personally thought it was pretty funny. Sometimes with Mr. Terrific, but I thought it was too much. But Mr. Terrific, probably the best part of this movie, which really sucks to say in a Superman movie. When Christopher Reeve portrayed Superman, he was the only actor that was unknown. Gene Hackman came in because Marlon Brando was part of the film. And almost everybody like was somewhat known in the movie sphere, but this was Christopher Reeve's first movie, right? And there were headlines saying like, the reason to come watch this movie is the star of the movie himself, Christopher Reeve. Like, that's how good he was, not just because Marlon Brando was phoning it in. Like, Gene Hackman, fantastic actor. Probably the most well-known name in the entire movie. Everybody was pretty decently known, or pretty, like the face was recognized in some other movie. And then everybody's talking about Christopher Reeve, a guy who just does Broadway, and then and they weren't talking about Gene Hackman or Marlon Brando in the movie. They were just asking Christopher Reeve what it was like to work with him. But yeah. So like it's the thing that intrigued me about this Superman was I wanted to see, like, even in the trailers, I thought a lot of it was dumb. I just wanted to see what they were doing with Guy, and then they did practically nothing. And it, like, what was crazy, Superman, for this movie, Superman was never the draw for me. It was just the title of the name Superman, and having seen Green Lantern, and I'm like, what? Why is he in this film? But he's got that haircut and then Nathan Fillion, and just nothing drew me to this movie more than just the Justice Gang. And I wanted to see if it was gonna be a dumpster fire, which, from what we got, it is. It is pretty insane that we got this film. And again, the guy who plays Lex, I think, what's his name, Nicholas Hoult or something? I think he did a great job with what he had. I think he is a great actor. Like even the garbage dialogue that he's been giving, he like really sells it well. And then when you think about it, like, oh, there was just it was a lot of wordy dialogue that made no sense. And then yeah, it like I feel like they tried to combine Gene Hackman's type of Lex Luthor with with the Injustice video game Lex Luthor. I feel like those were the two Lex Luthor that they try to combine, mesh with, and then make this Lex Luthor, which turned out to be Lex Loser. Like also the physicality of some of these characters just needs to be beefed up a bit. If Lex was a little more buff, like then I wouldn't be seeing like I see that actor and I can just see that actor. I'm not seeing Lex Luthor. You know what I mean? Like, and he's a much better actor than like when he played Tolkien. Like to me, it was believable. I was seeing Tolkien from the interviews, but he's portraying a young Tolkien, and there's mainly only interviews of old Tolkien, and I'm like, yeah, he's kind of getting like, yeah, like I'm in the story. You know, when I saw him play Beast in X-Men First Class, like he was very distinctive in how he acted. And in this movie, it's like he's trying too hard and he's doing a great job, but he's not looking the part. Like, I feel like he should have been buffer, and that's my same criticism for Mr. Terrific. He should have been much, much bigger than what we saw him. It was yeah, I think Mr. Terrific looked great. Everything was distinctive. He had the best uniform, best costume. If you just put some size on him, man, he's supposed to be just as big as Superman. Maybe not as tall, but buff wise, hell yeah. Goodness. And we're not gonna get into, like the universes colliding of maybe we'll get into it a little bit, like the Snyderverse. Okay. And Zack Snyder is doing this whole like aura farming on Instagram and all that fun stuff. Here's my 2 cents on this. Either he's trying to get back in the game and create his Snyderverse. Okay. And like Warner Brothers has been in the news a lot because of a few things. Fans know, real Superman fans understand that in the next, let's see, Superman came out in 1935, so 2035, next 7 years or so, or 10 years. I think it was 1935, something like that. So in the next 10 years or so, Superman's going to be public domain. If you guys don't know what that means, look it up. It practically means that anybody can portray Superman in a way. Okay. And that might be the reasoning for the costumes, because then they could probably copyright that and be like, oh no, we did the collar, we did the Kingdom Come S, we did this and that. All right. They might. And so Zack Snyder's doing all this oil farming. Warner Brothers is in the news. And they might be sold to the Saudis or Comcast, and it's a whole part of Mumble Jumbo, Paramount. Something could happen where James Gunn is out. I don't think James Gunn's gonna be out. As much garbage as this film is, they've done too many changes, and they still need to put out not Christopher Reeve. Oh, what's the guy's name? The guy who directed the Batman 2, whatever his name is. They need to put that out, and then there's gonna be the Supergirl film. There's going to be some other team-up film, maybe Booster Gold, whatever. What I'm thinking is if Zack doesn't make the Snyderverse again and they get rid of this goofy crap, I think they're going to make the Snyderverse the Injustice universe. And then this universe be the Prime universe. Again, really dumb. They shouldn't do that, at least not this early on. Ah, makes my head hurt. And I don't know what David Cornsweat's contract is in terms of Superman. I think they need to get him a better suit. Like, obviously, that's the least of the worries here, man. Like, dude, I could have lived with the suit if we got a good story. I could have lived with it. As much as I hate the collar, as much as I hate that he's repping the Kingdom Comes S, um, and that it looks like a motorcycle suit. It, like, if they just had good writing, it's like, fine, this is Superman. Which I think David Cornswell has great acting skills, but there was only the moments where he wasn't talking, and he was like saving like the squirrel, the little girl, and the little boy in Bravia. Like, those felt like Superman. But as soon as like he started talking, the dialogue, it was just so rough and so dumb that he was the way he was talking to certain people. Like when he had that exposition dump, well, not exposition, it was just like word vomit to Lex after Lex did all that stuff. Like, that's, I've always been human. That's where you're wrong, Lex. I'm like, dude, he just murdered a really nice falafel guy that you probably knew him as Clark and as Superman. And he did it in front of you while he was practically torturing your baby and looking towards killing your dog and torturing you with kryptonite, and at the same time looking for other people you care about to murder right in front of you. And you're talking about like, I hope that you become a better person someday. Whether Superman would feel that, I would have expected a more like angry dialogue, angry conversation where like, Lex, the things that you've done, you need to pay for them. And that's what I'm here to do. Through justice, through truth and justice in the American way. Taking you to jail. It's unforgivable what you've done. Like you've acted outside of what a human being. You had no empathy. You had no remorse in your eyes and in your heart. Like, you shouldn't be out here with the good people of Earth. And something like that. He's like, I don't know why you hate me, but it's safe to say that you're not human. You know, like, I've seen my fair share of aliens, and I've never seen somebody as disgusting as you. Something like that. Whatever, man. But not like this, like, conversation. Like, again, he's boasting himself up. Superman doesn't do that. He'll give an interview on the things he believes in, what his thoughts are, and that's that. But he's not going to try to explain himself other than maybe the situation, like, oh, this is why I did this. But he's freaking trying to convince this dude that he's a human and a good guy, and like, it's just the wrong time to, if he's ever gonna say this stuff, it's the wrong time to say it, and he would be a little bit more articulate. Like, again, Superman, his day job is a writer. He's gonna have quite the vocabulary. You feel me? He's going to try to choose the right words. He also grew up on a farm. So his words are not only going to be simple, but he studied to become a journalist, and he was on the front page. Like, this isn't in a world where newspapers are dying, which is obvious because there's blogs, and even if they don't say that, you could kind of like be like, oh, the thing that's keeping this up is blogs and newspaper reading. Like, yo. Which I guess there's a way to adapt that, but like, I'm okay not having that explanation. I'm okay like the just like, okay, blogs and newspapers exist. I'm not going to fight that. I like it because we don't even know what year it is, but whatever. All we know it's not World War II, and it isn't 2100. Okay. All right. So, like, what? Like, it's just there was so many times in this movie where like things were just left unexplained. Things were just like it just happened, no consequence, nothing. And dude, it really bothered me. It messed me up, man. Like I again, I don't see how this movie was just I don't know. I don't know, man. It bothers the crap out of me. But anyways, okay. Give me 1 second here. Just trying to make sure this stream doesn't crash out. But yeah. There's for some reason like Lex is pretty much like we're gonna like he's making the claim to like we should protect ourselves from the metahumans. All right. First of all, great time to kind of name drop. Well, when they're in the Pentagon, like in the beginning of the film, it's a good time to name drop like certain characters. Like, oh, how are you gonna catch? Like, forget about Superman. How are you gonna catch the fastest man in the world? Do you have a deterrent for that? Or like, or you know these guys in Gotham, we don't even know what their powers are. Like, you could build something where it's like, oh shoot, like the government is where there's vigilantes out there. There is other, you know, other metahumans, and it also shows not a naivety, but like, you know, like the mystery of Batman. We don't know that he is a human, a metahuman. What's going on? We just know that people fear him, and maybe that's his power because these guys aren't bad guys. So it's gonna be a little more difficult for them to understand who has powers and who hasn't. You know, like you could do a whole lot, man, and they just did nothing with it. Like you introduce all these metahumans. Oh, not actually don't introduce any metahumans. You mention metahumans. Do not. It never says a situation where they were an issue on Earth. It doesn't talk about any villain metahumans. You know. And Lex is trying to convince to either have a deterrent against metahumans. If anything, they would be worried about how the freak did they get a powered human or suit or the technology in Jaranpur, where they're not a rich country like the United States. We should be worried about what other countries are doing. Either they're recruiting metahumans, or they are creating super suits that could stop metahumans. Either way, America currently doesn't have that. Only Lex Luthor does. There is a long conversation you can have on why that's important, how it actually affects this universe and the world. Like, as soon as you give, like, you're going to make Superman obsolete as soon as you're able to make humans have an army of Supermans. You feel me? And then casually thrown away that, like, oh, all of the kryptonite is gone. Why does the whole world know about kryptonite, man? Like, dude, I don't know. Like, there was it's not that knowing is a bad thing. It's like we don't have an explanation on who got rid of it, why it's gone, and how they found out about it. Like, again, if it slipped out in a fight, if some other villain discovered it, who was the other villain? Was it Lex Luthor that discovered it in the first place? Like, was it the Joker? Who in this universe discovered this? And how much has Superman been a pain in Lex Luthor's butt? Because in comics, it's either Superman has disrupted some sort of venture that Lex was working on, or he was the cause. And again, Lex was always doing something, was always being a problem somewhere or doing something bad. Like, I think the first iteration of Superman was him and Lex were friends. And then he tried to save him from his lab, but then Superman ended up knocking some chemicals. I don't really remember. And then that's what made Lex lose his hair, because he had long red hair. And then it like messed with him, and then he like vowed to get rid of Superman. And then he created this whole idea in his mind that Superman must be evil. He doesn't care about people, and like over time he kept creating an idea of Superman, and that's why he always went after him. But also, this is supposed to be like the top two villains of Superman, I would say, are Brainiac and Lex. Those are the top two. Like, I wouldn't rub, like, Metallo is like a proxy villain, like Lex created Metallo, which also, I've said this before, the perfect Superman movie would include Metallo. The perfect introduction, where here's the formula: you introduce Superman. We don't need we can have exposition of the backstory, and then him starting already in the Daily Planet. I always want to say Daily People, where it's only been a few months. Then you could do lines like where Smallville, and then Clark's like, I'm right here, Lois, and then he's like, well, oh, you're still here? I thought after you're the first, I thought you'd quit after the first 3 months. Like, I guess I'm just more, give one of those cheesy strong line, like Superman lines, like, I guess I'm stronger than how I'm stronger than what people think I am, or something like that, and then have show him being Superman being Superman, saving the day, blah 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 blah, and like this scene where like Lex is trying to get in the military, and then eventually getting to Metallo and infusing this dude and be like, I'm going to create the perfect soldier, and recruits this military dude into the program, and then just literally creates Metallo and like changes his whole body to this cyborg. And he's like, what the freak are you doing? And not with nanites, but in another way where maybe he's like learning, he's trying to figure out nanites. And then 30 movies ahead after this, you could introduce nanites, like kind of like towards the end of the whole Justice League, the whole DCEU. And then you have a Superman fighting Metallo, trying to figure out what, and then he's discovering like maybe he loses his powers, but he still does the right thing. But Lex winning in the end, not Superman dying. Metallo was stopped, but nobody knows other than Superman that Lex created Metallo. But Lex wins. He's gonna be around. He's going to be like, I'm gonna be watching you, Superman. And then that's how the movie ends. Like, yeah, he saves the girl. He stops a catastrophe in the city, or whatever it is that Metallo is gonna be doing. But ultimately, the villain, the super villain, which is Lex, he makes it well known to the audience and to Superman that he's not somebody to mess with, and it's not gonna be easy to take him down. And then you can have multiple movies where he's involved, but he wins. He keeps winning. That's, like, to me, the perfect introduction of Superman has to be simple. this was not a good introduction to a new Superman. Like, say what you want about the movie. You could claim that it's good, even though it's a stupid claim and holds no weight. But one thing you can't say was that this was a great introduction to the new Superman of the DCU. It was terrible. It was a terrible intro. Like I said, he's been 3 years since he's been out as Superman, so probably 3 years in the Daily Planet. And like, people barely know Clark. Clark barely knows anything. And also, one big issue this movie had was like, we didn't get enough of Clark. Like, when he was doing the interview, he was Superman, but he was also acting like Superman through, like, in the apartment. And are they living together? What's the situation? They've only been dating 3 months. It'd be insane for them to start living together. And like, he's just casually walking around without his glasses. And then later on, they give that garbage dialogue of how, like, Guy Gardner is like, you know about the glasses, right? Something we didn't need to know. I already believed that people couldn't tell that he was Superman while he just wore glasses. Like, a lot of people can't tell. Like, when I take my glasses off, a lot of people think I look different. And it's not that much different, obviously. Like, I don't have hypnotic whatever. But it's just something that didn't need to be freaking explained. Waste of time. Like, I think this movie could have, if you take out the exposition dumps, if you take out a lot of the stupid comedy that was not funny. Like, some of the worst comedy that they did, they only nailed it with one. Actually, there was a second time I laughed because it was real. Is when Eve was telling Jimmy, like, I saw him torture a puppy, and he's like, holy like, that's a human reaction. That's a shocking thing to hear. But him being resistant, like, and it's obviously that Jimmy Olsen knows Clark is Superman, and he knows that he's in danger, and they play it as a comedic effect where he's like, he really doesn't want to hang out with Eve, but it's like, dude, the fate of the world, fate of at least Superman's life hangs on the balance, and you know this, and you hesitate. You were just, like, a real person, a real friend, a real human being that could save the most powerful person on the planet, wouldn't hesitate, and actually thinks he's a good guy, would be like, yeah, no problem. Like, we'll hang out. They'll say whatever to get the ball rolling. But no, like, oh, hang out? I don't know. I don't know if I have time. Like, dude, shut up. What a freaking stupid thing to do. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a little frustrated on this bull crap. And if you cut that out, I'm pretty sure an hour of the movie is taken away. Seriously. Like, if somebody out there watches this, try to make cuts of all the comedic crap, all the stuff that makes zero sense, and the exposition dumps, like, remove it and then see how long the runtime is. Dude, it's a headache to watch this movie. Like, a literal headache. And I mean that. Like, I came off the movie, like, maybe it's something I drank, I ate, but I had a headache, man. It was nuts. Or maybe it was just how stupid it was that it just hurt my brain. But damn. Like, yeah. And again, as much as Man of Steel was a train wreck, one of the most unforgivable things they did was make Superman not save his dad. He would do whatever for Jonathan Kent. He'd try to save him. The best one that did it was Smallville, actually, where he does save Jonathan, but then he messes with the fabric of time. Also, a Christopher Reeve reference that he said that they used the Jor-El from what's it called? And I do believe Jor-El from Smallville is Zod from the original Superman, and he gives it the same rules, like do not mess with the fabric of time, claiming that like through the Fortress of Solitude or through some other means that uh, you can use, like you're able to utilize time travel once or twice or whatever. And there's a massive consequence that Lana dies, and Clark is like, no, I gotta go save her. Well, the universe finds a way to, like, if you save one life, it has to trade for another. You can't, like that. You cannot mess. Like, there's a consequence to your actions. So then Jonathan dies, and in a way, Clark's fault, but not necessarily. Just that he couldn't. He broke a law of the universe. You know. And so, yeah, but obviously he would not have allowed that. And given the, if he knew that that was a consequence, he would still try to save her in a way, but not at the cost of his father. Okay, so Man of Steel, they don't do that. And then here, not only do they say it 4 times, but it was so unbelievable that fans tried messaging James Gunn, and people, and even like interviewers were like, was that really like the message? Like, I thought it was pretty definitive, especially when Mr. Terrific said that his parents pretty much told him to create a harem, become a dictator, and rule over people with an iron fist and show no mercy. So you could, like, anybody who doesn't accept your rule, kill them. Even though right before that was contradictory, where they were saying like they are good people. It's like the humans are great, blah blah blah, but they are naive and primitive or whatever it was that they said. But they told him to have a harem and take many wives, spread your seed. Like, what the hell, man? That was, I don't know where James Gunn's head is at. He does not know Superman. He don't know. Like, damn. Yeah, brother, this is a rough movie. Like, little things bothered me as well, like with the kaiju. Like, I felt like it took forever, where he was like, the tiles were coming up and he was traveling under the ground to come up later. I'm like to me, it just showed that he doesn't care about property damage. And the kaiju, it's like, okay, they're trying to kill it. He's not, but he still allows it. Like, Superman, if he feels like even the good guys are doing something wrong, he would try to stop him. Oh, a scene that pissed me off was this whole apartment scene with Lois, and there's a giant freaking jellyfish thing outside. It doesn't matter if it's harmless. You're Superman. Superman would be like, well, I don't know if they got it. Even if they say they got it, and I trust that they do, like, I'm here. I'm not going to cry about my freaking dog while there's danger outside, because they could screw up. It's not about trust at this point. He doesn't want to join their team, but it's outside his city, and he's doing nothing but crying. Like, what a dumb scene. And then Lois, like, the more the movie goes, the more it portrays Lois like an idiot. Like nobody's acting like an adult. Like, hey, I feel this way. I'm concerned about our relationship, but I'm not just gonna dump him when this dude is down. I'm not just gonna dump him for some stupid reason. Like it shows that Lois is selfish, and that she really doesn't care about nobody. Like the way she acts with Clark, it doesn't seem like she actually cares. And it's not about the first interview. It's about the second time that he's in the apartment, that freaking jellyfish is out there, and she's just like, the look she gives him and everything is like, it isn't concerned. Like, hey, yo, babe, you gotta calm down on this interview with Superman stuff. You know how it looks, like because I know, but that you are you. It's not gonna be a problem, but like the way Jimmy looked at you, the way that Steve looked at you, it's like, man, this guy really like you ain't Peter Parker, bro. And again, it's still talked about to this day in the I want to say comic community, among fans that's like, nobody freaking figured out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, even though Spider-Man only poses for Peter Parker, but they're never in the same room. Like, and he gets some crazy shots. Like, where you were hanging off a flagpole, and they even make a joke in the Sam Raimi trilogy or something. Like, I think about like hanging off a flagpole. And damn, like, oh, it's just, yeah, it's whack, man. It's freaking crazy. Like, why are we doing this? I don't understand where we're supposed to go with any of these characters from here. Like, Lois Lane is weak. And I don't know if they kept messing with the visual effects, but it's almost like she looked older and older as the scenes went on. Like, her face looked more Botoxed as the movie went on. I don't know if I'm the only one that caught that. You know, David Cornsweet, I would say I probably don't mind him as an actor. Like, I think he acts pretty well. I think he's been giving garbage script, garbage dialogue. This isn't a Superman, and Superman is not this emotional. Like, he's also 30 years old. By the time you're 30 damn years old, you should have some emotions in check, man. You shouldn't be like crying about, like, dude, and it's so hard to not jump around. Like, the whole thing with his parents, like that great scene with Jonathan Kent also has issues. Yeah, I know. Some of you are like, how does that scene have issues? It's the best scene in the movie. Okay. Well, if you pay attention to what Clark says, Clark pretty much tells his dad that, like, I'm still saving people, but now I feel bad about it. That's pretty much what he's saying. And what I mean by that, I don't know word for word, but I think it was along the lines of, like, ever since I found out that with this recording, what my parents from Krypton wanted me to do, I just don't know who I am anymore. Don't know who you are. You don't know who your parents are, who your Kryptonian parents are. That's what you should be saying. How do you not know who you are? It didn't change you, man. That recording existed all those 30 years, even if you heard it or not. Who you are is who your parents, right there, Jonathan Martha Kent, instilled in you, taught you. Your life experiences from a kid to now, that's who you are. And there's no question in that. Why would you feel bad? Why would you question who you are? Like it, to me, it makes it seem like if somebody puts out something that is true, like your parents said this, okay, that's all it takes for you to turn. Like, you're still doing bad things, but if, let's say, Jonathan Kent said the wrong thing, like, yeah, I'm scared of you now, man. Like, you're not the son I thought you were. Let's say he said something crazy like that. Then is that the final straw to turn Superman evil? And he's gonna be like, well, now I'm gonna do what my parents told me to do, and I'm gonna be what the world thinks I am. Like, that's the thought of a villain. Somebody who is almost over the edge anyways. That ain't Superman. Like, like, man, like, Superman is, people say that he doesn't have much depth, but his decision making, his self-control, like, there's a lot of depth when you read the comics, when you see other portrayals. Like, my favorite, I'm not saying it's the best, my favorite version is in Smallville. I think it's because we get a lot of backstory. Comic books, the best medium for comic books to be portrayed is in TV series. Okay? Obviously, movies can make it great, can do a really good job, but it's never going to give us the depth we're going to get from TV series. And I've always said the best way to mix the two is to have a movie, TV, and then a TV series, like a whole, like, 30 episodes of a series, of a season, but that you could still watch both separate. It's just those who really want to know, like, again, both mediums have to hold their own. They got to hold their own. But those who want more, what's it called? content, they're able to watch more on the TV show, because people who watch TV shows will go to the movies, but people who go to the movies won't always watch the TV show, right? This yeah, like I can't go through all the mistakes. Like it's usually better. I do a lot better like going back and forth with somebody, because it reminds me of things that are throughout the movie. But there was a lot of things where I just couldn't. It made zero sense, brother. It was pretty damn rough, and I don't know how to explain the details of what somebody like every detail matters. Like when I say the things about being an English speaker, like it states from where you're from. Like, yeah, he might not have a Kansas accent, a farm accent, but he might say certain words. Like, they did that in the Christopher Reeve Superman. Like, and it was like one of the first things they did when Clark shows up to the Daily Planet. It's like, swell? Like, you know, people don't really say that anymore. People might misconstrue it for something else. And it's like, oh, I never seen anybody bothered by it. And it's like, okay, that's a Clark and Superman thing right there, both of them together, because it shows that like, oh no, like I'm gonna be me, but then he's also back in being the goofy, bumbling Clark, and then the perfect scene, like we know the perfect scene in Christopher Reeve where he's transitioning from Clark to Superman in Lois's apartment, you know, where he's thinking about telling Lois, and almost does, but then kind of comes to a come to Jesus moment in his head. Oh, but in this Superman, we really don't get much of a contrast between because you practically have to play three different characters. You have to play the Clark Kent portrayed in the city. You got to play the Clark Kent, the true Clark Kent that's in around his parents, and then you got to play Superman. And we really didn't get that in this film. We kind of got a snippet of it, but not enough. It wasn't enough for me to differentiate. It was just like, oh, Superman's in glasses. This wasn't, and now his name is Clark. That's the most we got. Because, and again, I still think Christopher Reeve Clark Kent isn't my favorite. For that movie, it works perfect. I really like in the animated series where like he is Clark Kent, and he's confident and whatever, but he also obviously is not trying to show off that he's Superman either. So like you believe he's the nerd Clark Kent, and at a distance he's very professional, blah 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 blah. But he's Clark Kent, and so he doesn't have to switch personalities when he's with Ma and Pa. Like he's that Clark Kent. That's actually how Superman is. And then Superman is just a dialed down Clark Kent where he's more stoic. He's more like almost like a robot. It's not that he's acting like a robot, but he's not letting his emotions come out. He's not speaking like Clark. But he is Superman. And then Clark comes out every now and then when he does have some emotion as Superman, where he's worried about people, where he's actually having dialogue with other heroes, villains, and whatnot. But yeah, I think that was one of not only a major mistake in this movie, but along with the billions of mistakes they've made. Like we could go on and on about what they should have taken out. Like the kaiju shouldn't have been there. The cloning, you know, you could have put some other villain. Again, Metallo would have been great. You know, like where maybe nobody knows that Lex has kryptonite. There's a million stories that you could have told with the same elements that you got in this film. But it's like they try to throw everything. Like, dude, get the whole Justice Gang out of there. Like, maybe introduce a scene where, like, Green Lantern flies in. It's like, hey, the Justice Gang, you know, we're like, we want you on our team, man. Like, we could use you. Because they're owned by a corporation, but at the same time, they sit around and do nothing when nothing's going on. And, like, are you supposed to watch over the whole planet? But the corporation's in the U.S., so you have to stay in the U.S.? But then you break that rule and go to Jaipur and help out. And then the U.S. military and the corporation, they're not, no one's, like, what are the rules, man? There ain't no rules here. There's no consequences to any actions in this movie. It's just things happen. That is not good writing. It's just things happen. And there's some, but the whole movie is pretty much an end-end story. Gosh. That's pretty much all I got to say. And for today, here we're in the East Coast. It's 2 a.m. and I'm exhausted. But I'm trying, like, this might turn into a whole Superman channel, man, because this is pissing me off. And I love Superman. If you look right there, Superman symbol, fool. And I got a Superman statue upstairs that I'm going to bring down later. Man, I'm getting pissed. All right. You guys stuck with me this long? Sick. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, still thank you. I'm learning this, figuring it out. But yeah. All right, girls and gays. I'm out. Don't forget